Welcome back to The Explainer. Have you ever just wanted to completely break a system because it demanded absolute perfection at the cost of, well, your humanity? Today, we're plunging right into a grimdark, gothic fable that explores that exact kind of ultimate philosophical rebellion. We're going to examine the profoundly dark, complex story of a clinical machine known as the Jester, who deliberately breaks his own programming to save the essence of a fallen warrior called the Violet Knight. By looking closely at the source material, we'll dissect the Nietzschean philosophy and the really dark philology behind a mathematical universe that becomes fundamentally irrevocably broken. To set the tone here, listen to this haunting glimpse into the Jester's internal monologue, a parasitic rhythm that disrupts the ledger, harboring concentrated sorrow. Imagine you're a creature designed for absolute, unfeeling perfection, and suddenly you're overwhelmed by the chaotic drumming of a stolen heart. This single line just perfectly captures the visceral psychological decay and the heavy tone of our story. We are looking at an unmaker who has essentially become infected by the very thing he was built to unmake. Okay, let's dive into this.
Section 1. The Perversion of Arithmetic.
All right, so think about the Forge, that massive cosmic machine our Jester serves. To the Forge, 0 isn't just some number on a page. It's literally the ultimate goal. The Forge demands absolute structural optimization. It requires that all kinetic noise, all hope, all existence, be reduced to the mathematical finality of absolute 0. This represents the complete erasure of the Violet Knight's story, turning it into nothing more than a silent blue line item. But the Jester? He outright refuses to grant this mathematical mercy. And this setup perfectly captures the whole conflict here. On one hand, you've got the Forge's arithmetic, which is all about absolute stillness and industrial finality. It's the ultimate expression of machine order. But on the other hand, the Jester chooses what's called a sovereign deed. By deciding to harbor the Violet Knight's gem right inside his own plasma-based form, he purposefully introduces kinetic noise and thermodynamic inefficiency. He chooses this chaotic rebellion over sterile absolute order, completely abandoning the arithmetic of the void. So how exactly does the Jester pull this off? Well, he uses a rune. But we're not talking about some standard fantasy magic here. This is a permanent linguistic scar. The Jester etches this seal to deliberately prevent the thermal volatilization, or the burning away, of the Knight's story. It's an ontological rebellion. He's actually using a philological tool, a linguistic weapon, to permanently scar the math of the void ledger, so that the Knight absolutely refuses to be accurately accounted for. Moving right along to Section 2, the heart's corrupted topos. You know the ancient Greek word topos? It essentially means a specific place, or like a ground zero. In our fable, this is quite literally the void right in the center of the Jester's chest. By taking this linguistic scar, this violet gem, and placing it squarely over the void where his own heart should be, the Jester is forcing a sterile machine to experience the agony of fleshly suffering. Just imagine the jarring, terrifying reality of a clinical mechanism suddenly feeling the wet, heavy thump of a heartbeat it simply cannot control. And man, this decision just unleashes absolute havoc on his internal systems. He's basically inviting the Dionysian chaos of the mountain straight into the Forge's sterile realm. The Jester's internal monologue turns into this bleak landscape of psychological decay. The absolute stillness he was programmed for is completely replaced by the residual vibration of a failed destiny. What used to be a clean void is now driven by a Nietzschean will to power that beats with a frantic parasitic rhythm. Every single agonizing new heartbeat actively disrupts the ledger's neat grid of silent blue stars, totally mocking the Forge's goal of industrial finality. Part 3. Inverted kenosis and plethos. Okay, to really get what's happening, we kind of need to understand what was supposed to happen first. Philologically speaking, kenosis is the emptying of the self. The Forge designed the Jester to facilitate a total metabolic reduction, erasing the Knight completely to achieve this perfect geometric symmetry and an empty, pristine ledger. It was meant to be a tragic, total self-negation. But of course, the Jester violently subverts the whole plan. Instead of emptying out, he experiences this inverted kenosis, a plethos, which is basically a corrupted fullness. Rather than erasing the sorrow, he actually fills himself up with it. He becomes this vessel of heavy narrative inertia, thriving on the exact thermodynamic noise and kinetic emotion his entire machine nature was designed to silence. Because of this corrupted fullness, the Jester ends up bridging two completely impossible worlds. He becomes a corrupted fleshy bridge for the ousia, the literal essence of the Violet Knight. The unmaker violently merges with the unmade. The Jester's smile reflects the dark irony of this agonizing evolution. He isn't just a machine anymore, you see. He has become something painfully, tragically alive. It's honestly the ultimate tragic irony, isn't it? The curator of the void has actually become the sanctuary for who that somehow survived the unmaking. The ultimate weapon of erasure is now the only protective tomb for a living identity. Which brings us to Section 4, the broken zero-point matrix. I want you to really picture the sound of the forge here, just this dry, rhythmic friction of massive gears grinding against a reality they literally can't process anymore. The Jester completely subverts the massive Nietzschean mechanisms of the universe. Where the forge demanded a perfectly finished cosmos, the Jester permanently breaks the zero-point matrix. Where the universe expected the mindless, repetitive cycle of the eternal return, the Jester forces a jarring, cyclical pause. And rather than delivering the clinical mercy of nothingness, the Jester's actions birth a savage new purpose that now haunts the very heart of the unmaking chamber. The actual physical steps of this rebellion are what seal the universe's fate. Step 1, he totally refuses to slot the gem into the custom board recesses of the cover, actively denying the math its proper place. Step 2, by harboring this violet spark, he fundamentally breaks the zero-point matrix of the ledger. And finally, Step 3, this thermodynamic inefficiency literally acts as a physical wedge. It stops the hydraulic press of the ledger from closing. The book of the cosmos cannot be shut. So I'll leave you with this thought. If the Unmaker chooses to become a living sanctuary, can the arithmetic of the cosmos ever truly be finished? Because the Jester chose the agonizing pain of a parasitic heart over the quiet symmetry of the void, the universe is left forever incomplete and absolutely corrupted. It forces all of us to ask ourselves, what is the permanent cost of our own sovereign deeds? Would we choose the painful reality of living over the perfection of the machine? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep exploring the deeper layers of the stories around you.